Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scale Passion e-interview series with passionate entrepreneurs who are out to change the world and who've actually successfully scaled their passion a bit. I'm really honored and excited to be talking to Xavier Helgesen today from Better World Books. I've been following their company for quite some time, a true triple bottom line company, corporate social responsibility. They're really doing it right. I love you go to their website and you can see the impact they're making by the dollar, by the tree saved almost. Very, very impactful. So welcome, Xavier. I really appreciate you coming.
Great to be here, Robert. Thanks for doing this interview.
I appreciate it. My intent really is to interview you like I'm a young, passionate entrepreneur trying to follow in your footsteps. You've got a bright future ahead with Better World Books. Over the past several years, you've learned a lot. So I'm hoping to really pick your brain a little bit on that today and share with some of the other entrepreneurs out there. Why don't we start with just a brief history of you and Better World Books and kind of where you're at today. Give us some sense of the growth. There's a lot of great resources out there that talk in more detail about Better World Books and the mission and the passion, but give us some sense of the growth from a founder perspective that you've been experiencing over the last several years.
Absolutely. So we started out with one college book drive in 2002. It was more of a beta test than anything. It was an idea we had that if we collected a bunch of books that no one else seemed to want and sold them on the internet, that we could raise some money for a good cause, and that we could repeat that model. So we collected books at Notre Dame, collected about 2,000 books, and sold them. Our first day of sales was $5,000, which was pretty exciting, and that kind of kicked us off and made us realize that if we could replicate this at a bunch of college campuses, we'd have the start of a business.
Absolutely.
And so Better World has kind of evolved from there into a full-service online bookstore. And we grew to 1 million in revenue in about 2 years, and from 1 we went to 4 and then 9, and that was probably as percentage-wise, the most rapid growth in the company's history. We finished this last fiscal year at a little over 31 million in top-line revenue.
Wow, that's great growth.
And we're about 6 or 7 years old at this point.
Excellent. Now, why did you guys start Better World? Why the corporate social responsibility? Why the passion from that standpoint? Where did that come? I know you founded this with a partner, correct?
Yeah, I founded this with a college friend of mine, and we'd had I'd actually been in business in college in the web design business, and also created an online community at Notre Dame. So I was always interested in business more for the ability to impact people than for the dollars it may earn.
Right.
And I was a pretty firm believer that the dollars will follow if you do something that is genuinely unique.
Totally agree.
And I've always been fascinated by the business world, and ever since I was young, wanted to be an entrepreneur. So this is probably the first business venture I've had that's grown past a couple employees, but I did have a few before this.
And how many employees are you at now, just for some sense of scale?
We're at about 250 if you include part-timers.
That is awesome. As you grow through these different stages of growth, strapping it together, a couple friends, book drives to 250 people with several locations, what are some of the inflection points you feel like you hit as a founder? What were those? Can you think back over the last several years and say, okay, that was a big inflection point where we really took a big jump? Can you give me some sense of that?
Yeah, there were. As I look back at inflection points, I think it's probably number 1 was when we actually figured out how to run 1,000 book drives rather than 1 book drive, and coming up with that model took some work. But once we had it, then we just could plug and play at any campus in the country.
Right.
So that really drove our first stage of growth. Our second stage, which I think was a big leap, was starting to work with libraries. And the library books were different than we were used to dealing with, and they were lower average sale price. So we had to find a business model that worked with libraries, and that was a little different than colleges. But today we get more books from libraries than we do from colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So was leveraging a good idea into a consumer brand.
Right.
We had initially sold the books primarily through eBay, Amazon, other third-party channels. That helped keep our costs really low, but it also meant that customers could come support our brand directly. So the ability of building out an Amazon level online bookstore on a shoestring was probably the third big leap we've made.
Yeah, usually technology comes to play pretty dramatically, right? You've got to make a pretty hefty investment in technology. When did you guys do that? At about what size of your company in your company's history?
We did that before we had full-time employees. Even we were investing in technology. We contracted with a Russian programming group initially to do the first version of our internal software,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the software that runs the business is custom written.
Excellent. How'd you find those guys? Just out of curiosity.
My two favorite sites are elance.com and
Uh-huh.
odesk.com.
I knew you were going to say that. That's great.
In an Inc. magazine article, I talked a lot about that, actually.
Yeah.
I think every entrepreneur should use those websites.
And that was Elance, and what was the second one?
The second one's called Odesk.
Odesk?
Yeah, I actually like Odesk a little better. You actually pay by the hour, and you can watch their screen while they're working, so you know what they're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking for some help right now. I'm definitely going to check that out. That's great.